And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. Talk radio for the thinking person, home of hoarders, language, culture, and here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Welcome to the Savage Nation. Welcome. Well, we all know the topic. I'm being put in the position of looking. They want me to say something where they can paint me with the same brush that they're painting Trump. I'm not going to do it because I'm smarter than them. If you think I'm as dumb as Jerry Seinfeld or the morons on MSNBC, you're mistaken. But I have a question for the morons on MSNBC, including Phil Piffin. Phil Piffin of MSNBC, one of the most disgraceful men in the history of the media, lets these racist bums go on and on every day with the most hate-filled anti-white statements you could ever imagine, and no one says a word to him. But I have a question for Phil Griffin of MSNBC, and frankly CNN, and all the others who were screaming about Donald Trump using the S word about Haiti and regions of Africa, which is this. Can I buy you tickets to spend 2 weeks at a resort in Haiti, please? And by the way, while I'm asking you that, one question for you. Why didn't the Obamas rent a vacation villa in Haiti instead of Martha's Vineyard of Hawaii during their numerous vacations? They could have rented a villa in Port-au-Prince or in a more interesting, colorful district of Haiti, and yet they chose to rent a vacation villa in Hawaii. I wonder why. Could it be because everyone knows the truth is you don't want to go to Haiti? That even Haitians don't want to go to Haiti? That's why they're running to America? Because it is exactly what Trump said it is? So now, of course, the knee-jerk liberals in the media are jumping from Trump allegedly using this word about Haiti and Africa to say he should be running the Ku Klux Klan. This is an example of knee-jerk liberalism. This is exactly what passes for logic in the country today. But it all started with the sneaky bum Turban Durbin, who ratted out Trump at a private meeting. Turban Durbin himself, as you well know, is the snitch rat who said that Trump said these things. So let's assume for the minute that Trump actually used the phrase that they say he used about Haiti and Africa, that we don't really want people from these countries because they're known to be destitute and such. So Turban Durbin himself is the snitch rat. But let's listen to what this filthy bum Senator Turban Durbin had to say about United States Marines a while ago. And let me ask you something. What's worse, what Trump allegedly said about Haiti or what Senator Turban Durbin, the snitch rat, said about U.S. Marines? Let's hear it.
If I read this to you and didn't tell you that it was an FBI agent describing what Americans had done to prisoners in their control, you would most certainly believe this must have happened by Nazis, Soviets in their gulags, or some mad regime, Pol Pot or others, that had no concern for human beings.
This is Turban Durbin.
That's not the case.
This is the evil Turban Durbin who has never met a Muslim terrorist he didn't embrace. He put down the U.S. Marines in the most disgraceful way, and there wasn't one word in the media except from outlets such as mine. And you're going to take this man's moral high ground? Are you joking? What skills or cultural qualities would Haitians bring to this nation? Why didn't the Obamas rent a vacation villa in Haiti instead of Martha's Vineyard? Knee-jerk liberal media hypocrites in Haiti. Every one of the liberal fools from Hollywood is jumping in on Trump's back. From Jerry Seinfeld, who's trying to show what a good liberal he is, while rushing back to his $1 million Porsche, making believe he's down with the people. And the fact of the matter is, the left wing in this country is clueless as to what life is actually like in Africa or Haiti. Most of them, if they go to the third world, they go on a private jet, and they go to a secure location on an island, somewhere where they're protected around the clock. They never, ever reach down into the world of the real people. It's been nearly 24 hours, and CNN and more snotty nonsense by communists, along with other mainstream outlets, are airing nothing but Trump's comments about Haiti and other nations, referring to them as S-holes, during a private meeting on the immigration bill. Never mind that this leaked thanks to the sneaky rat Dick Durbin. What's important is why it happened and the hypocrisy of the blowhards on TV who seem to be taking glee in repeating that word over and over again. Think about that. Now, never mind that President Trump is a New Yorker, and that's the kind of language people in New York actually use, by the way. Many immigrants use the same language about their own country. But what exactly did he say that was wrong? Was he talking about the people in those nations? I don't think so. If there's one thing about this president is that he respects hardworking people, no matter what their background or color is. But these media blowhards would have you think otherwise. Let's take Haiti, for example. We have some great Haitian people here. Mia Love, for example, the congresswoman from Utah, is a Haitian immigrant. There are many Haitian immigrants who serve in our military. Many have small businesses in the United States. But the nation of Haiti itself is a total disaster. There's no two ways about it. Its history is steeped in natural disasters, poverty, racial discord, and political instability. And, you know, you have to beg one question, and it's one that's very embarrassing for liberals because they have no sense of history or geography for that matter. They don't even know science. And someone said to me, Michael, on my Twitter, I thought you had a degree. How can you ignore Haiti's history of exploitation by rich white men? Come on, Michael, you know better. Well, my answer was this. Wrong, Mark. Why is the Dominican Republic a safer, cleaner country on the same landmass, genius? Can any Jerry Seinfeld, who went to the High School of Performing Art, answer that question? Remember, the Dominican Republic and Haiti share the same island land mass. One is sort of thriving and doing okay. That's the Dominican Republic. Haiti is dying. Why is that? Well, they can't answer that. You see, after hundreds of years of being a French slave colony, yes, it was France who exploited Haiti, it won its independence, and the 1800s had a line of successive presidents who drafted and abolished constitutions, leaving it to the whims of whatever dictatorial president was able to hold power at that time. Coups and assassinations were common. In the early 20th century, the United States did what it could to stabilize the island, even trained the Haitian National Guard. But after the United States left, Haiti fell back into dictatorship, particularly under Francis Duvalier, who made himself president for life. It was then taken over by his equally mad dictatorial son, Baby Doc, during which time the country was starving to death, couldn't get food, couldn't get water, couldn't get jobs, people rioted. When the Duvalier regime finally left, Jean-Bertrand Aristide, remember him, led Haiti, but not to prosperity, but to violence and coups, leading Haiti to further chaos. Although Aristide is gone, basic services are still hard to come by. Does that sound like paradise to you, or more or less what Trump described? Now, getting to the other issue, which is more important in a way, which is, did you know the Dominican Republic is on the same landmass, inhabited by the people descended from the same people as the Haitians? Did you know that? Now, comparatively, the Dominican Republic is a success. Why is that? Well, it's true that in the Dominican Republic they had their share of violence and corruption while the country was in development, as most countries do in their early stages. But in the Dominican Republic, they modeled their constitution on the U.S. Constitution. They also permitted the United States to help them avoid the scourge of communism. Did you know that we sent Marines and the 82nd Airborne into the Dominican Republic so the Dominican Republic didn't turn into another communist Cuba at our doorstep? And did you know that during this time they ambitiously built their infrastructure, and in the late 70s they finally saw relative freedom and basic human rights, and their economy began to grow, and now they are moving ahead in technology? Did you know that you could actually vacation in the Dominican Republic with some degree of safety and first world services? It is not the people, it's the leadership, it's the form of government, it's the lack of will to use resources that makes these countries poor. The knee-jerk media liberal blowhards would never commit to a vacation to Haiti or Libya or Somalia. They know that President Trump wasn't referring to the people of these countries, but of the corruption of the leaders. It doesn't matter. The whole goal is to paint Donald Trump as a racist. They want to plant that in people's minds and will run with it as long as they can take him down. And don't think there's not a direct political motivation. The evil rat bum Senator Durbin wants to pass DACA and comprehensive immigration reform, which means anyone can come here and take advantage of this nation. And anyone who opposes them is painted as a racist. And that is what they're using to try and take over Congress in 2018. They will attempt to link anyone running for office with Trump and say they're also a racist. This is Jacques Hughes during the French Revolution on a different scale, but it's all a lie, and they know it. And as a footnote, Savage Nation listeners, some Africans actually agree with Trump, and I mean black Africans. If you want to know, if I say white Africans, you'll say, of course they would know. Some black Africans agree with Donald Trump, calling Africa what he called it. Did you know that? Mamadi Traore, a 30-year-old sociologist in the West African nation of Guinea, said President Donald Trump is absolutely right. When you have heads of state who mess with the Constitution to perpetuate their power, he's talking about Africa, not the United States. When you have heads of state who mess with the Constitution to perpetuate their power, when you have rebel factions that kill children, disembowel women as saints, and mutilate innocent civilians, you understand that? So in order to understand the context of this hate fest being promulgated by the left wing, by the media, you have to understand the context of the world. Unfortunately, that is sorely missing. This is the Savage Nation. When I come back, we'll take your calls on the knee-jerk liberal media hysteria about Donald Trump's alleged remarks on the Savage Nation. We'll also talk about the relative welfare usage amongst Haitians and other immigrants. It's an embarrassing fact, but unfortunately we have to discuss it because we cannot take in the people from around the world on an unlimited basis. There are many American poor as well. Certainly they're not Mr. Seinfeld, who drives $1 million Porsche, who knows all about poverty. I am sure he knows all about poverty, which is why he was so quick to jump down Donald Trump's throat. This is the Savage Nation. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Daylight come and me want to go home. Let's go to the callers in a minute. I'll play. I like the music. I love the West African music. You know, I was thinking during the break that Phil Griffin of MSNBC and the guys who run the CNN and the other outlets of hatred and stupidity, they could probably increase their revenue by putting out Trump voodoo dolls with a set of pins and sell them in largely Haitian communities. And, of course, in L.A., it would sell like crazy in L.A. right now. West Hollywood, are you kidding? They could get street peddlers to sell voodoo dolls of Trump with pins. That would be a big hit. If there's a capitalist out there, I'd go right now to a manufacturer. You'd probably make a fortune. A Trump doll coming with its own set of pins. And I'm sure that the late-night shows would like to distribute them for additional money, and the revenue would not go to Haiti at all. So this is a sort of serious issue, calling a nation a name like that, which most people understand behind the scenes is what people say about destitute third world, tragically horrendous nations, whether they're in Africa or in the Caribbean or in other places. And why the sneaky rat Turban Durbin gets away with this is a matter of conjecture. He himself is a despicable American-hating, military-hating American. And, of course, his credibility is not on the line. But here's what I want to do. I want to open up the show to Haitians who are listening to the show, because I know for a fact there are Haitian cab drivers in New York City who listen to me on WABC. I've had friends riding in cabs that tell me the Haitians love me. Are there any Haitian people, mainly cab drivers in New York, wherever, who actually agree with Donald Trump about their homeland, which is why they fled it? I mean, what would you call Haiti? How would you do? Okay, let's take the vile nature of the word, the vulgar nature of the word, and let's put that aside. How would you describe Haiti? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I don't know anyone who goes to Haiti on vacation. And my other main point, which is a good one, is the Dominican Republic, same landmass as Haiti. I know Seinfeld didn't study that at the High School of Performing Art. I recognize that. They didn't have geography at that time. They learned how to roll doobies. That was about it. And, you know, how to use injection drugs cleanly. They didn't get to geography at that High School of Performing Art, which is why they're so brilliant. But the fact of the matter is, Haiti, Dominican Republic, same landmass. One nation is relatively okay. The other one is a well, not what Trump called it. Let's call it something. Let's find another word instead of that. A bad place, a horrible place that people can't live in. Does that say the same thing? Are there any Haitians on the line? 855-407. We have one open line for Haitians. WABC, Alex, you're not a Haitian, but you have a comment on this issue. What's your comment? Alex, go ahead.
Actually, I'm Dominican.
All right, goodbye. Goodbye. Come on, screener. Let's get the callers that are not on cell phones made in North Korea. If you're going to get me a cell phone, make sure it's made in South Korea, for God's sakes, not one produced by Kim Jong-un. Let me ask you another question. Have you heard what the morons on CNN are saying? All of the fake liberals, all of the knee-jerk liberals like Jake Tapper, a real genius, Jake Tapper, Jim Acosta, who accosts people verbally. They all went berserk. Anderson Blooper, another man who loves to spend time with his paramour in Haiti. Where does Anderson Cooper vacation? Why doesn't Anderson Cooper put his jeans where his mouth is and go vacation in Port-au-Prince for 2 straight weeks and tell me what it's like after that? Let's hear what they're saying now in clip 1.
President asked, quote, why are we having all these people from shithole countries come here?
As a shithole, as living in
calling those countries shitholes.
Remember, we're all shitholers. That was considered a shithole.
These people from shithole countries.
From shithole countries come shithole.
These people from shithole countries, all the countries of Africa are shitholes.
These people from shithole countries come.
Whole countries.
Whole countries.
Whole countries come here.
People who come from shitholes for coming
whole
from
country.
whole countries.
This is good. This is good. They can't get enough of the dirty word. They're somehow obsessed with that word. Why is it that they're using that word over and over again on their networks? Why are they steeping themselves in it?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. Savage.
I realize Beethoven's Fifth is nowhere equal to this, and such. I realize that Beethoven tried the best he could to approach the level of this music, but nevertheless, it's still difficult to do. Now, you have a media running with this dirty word, the vile word. It's scatological. They couldn't wait to use the scatological reference to the word that Trump allegedly used over and over again. They are preoccupied with excrement or obscenity, as you well know. I mean, if you look at Jake Tapper or Anderson Cooper, Don Lemon, John Berman, and the other stars of the scatological network, we can call it SNN, the Scatological News Network, they cannot get over saying it. They're like little children in a schoolhouse where the teacher accidentally used the word, let's say, that Trump allegedly used. And they all start using it like the little children that they are. Their intellect is about that of a 4th or 5th grader. So you're using a dirty word. And the mother hears about you, says, Johnny, I heard you use this word in school over and over again, Andy. Anderson Cooper says, I didn't use it. I heard you use the word. I'm going to wash your mouth out with brown soap. I mean, what should I suggest here? They should have their mouths washed out with brown soap? They're using the word over and over again that they say is vulgar and obscene. Why would they repeat the word over and over again? Why? Liberalism is a vulgar mental disorder. That's why. Now, whether Trump said this or didn't say it, I'm going to assume he did say it because that's the way men actually talk behind the scenes about many things. You've never used the word? You're telling me that Jake Tapper never heard the word before? So what is he getting so upset about? What is the issue that we are discussing? The issue we're discussing is the quality of immigrants that we want in this nation. Now, I know many of you are kind-hearted, good liberals, and believe that we should take in the very opposite of what makes sense. In other words, we should not take in people who can contribute to society, but that this nation should take in all of the poor and starving masses of the world, because we're just such a rich nation, and we have an obligation to the poor of the world to give them a free handout, because we did so many bad things to them. That sounds good on a piece of paper until you look at the abject poverty in this nation that has not yet been resolved. And I say America first. Take care of our poor first. It's a crowded lifeboat. The water is up to the gunwales. We take it anymore, this boat's going to sink. We don't have unlimited funds. So we do have to make a determination as to what immigrants we want. Every sane nation on earth has border controls for that reason. So let's Let's start with the opposite. What people do we not want? Who do you not want here? Well, let's start with we do not want diseased people here. What? How dare you? Of course we want diseased people. They should get free kidneys, free hearts. They should go ahead of the line of our soldiers who are suffering in the VA hospitals. You see the absurdity of that? No, we can't give all the medical treatment in the world to every sick person from the third world. There's a saying on the base of the Statue of Liberty by Emma Lazarus that many of you are quoting in your heads now, saying, Michael, but what about that saying on the Statue of Liberty when your grandfather came over here as an immigrant, which said, give me your tired, your poor, and the masses yearning to be free? It sounded very good. But I will remind you that when that statement was written, it was pure propaganda because there was no welfare state. In other words, it was not give me your tired, your poor, and those yearning to live for free, was it? It was give me your tired, your poor, and those yearning to be free. In other words, they worked 16 hours a day, living 16 to a room, 7 days a week, to try and pull themselves out of poverty because there was no government handout waiting for them. And I'll remind you again, if your great-grandfather came over here with tuberculosis, he was either, quarantined. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the word. You're not even allowed to use it in America anymore. He was quarantined and treated until he got better or deported back to the country he came from. Why did they deport people with infectious illnesses? I know you can't understand this because many of you get your information from the very same news media that is so scatologically oriented that they have no knowledge and no history and such. The reason is because you didn't want to infect the healthy population. That is what epidemiology is about. That's what border controls are about. What do you want to do, bring people in with the plague? Do you want, now what, people in the plague in your child's school? Are you people that sick? So you need proper controls over sick people. So you need to control what kind of people you bring in. Okay, so we've gone through that. What about criminals? You want to bring criminals in? You need more gang members in the country. You don't have enough of them with the tattoos up to the eyeballs and tattoos on their eyeballs. That's why Trump's deporting the gang members. That's also no good to Dan Lemon, whatever their names are, the fools in the media. So in other words, we're trying to have a rational immigration discussion. A rational immigration discussion includes what kind of immigrants do we want in this nation? That's what we're talking about. Instead, the little yappers in the media are running with a scatological word over and over again, repeating it like little children because they can finally say a dirty word on air and get away with it. And they think that passes for cleverness. How pathetic they really are. So that's all I can say on this issue. There's not much more to say. I got great sound bites. Robert, you said you have something good for the audience. Got some red meat for them. Let's have the audio sound bite called Red Meat Number 1.
I am a proud holder. My family was called. I'm proud of that. We came when people from Ireland and Italy were seen as dirty people, dirty Catholics who didn't belong in a Protestant country. Holders built this country 110 years ago. They were called.
Oh, get off your high horse, you phony liberal. Who is this putz? Who is this schmuck? Who? Mud? They have another one? They got another moron? Another sellout? Okay, well. Let me give you a Teddy update. I know many of you know Teddy is the mascot of the Savage Nation. He's been the star of this show for his entire 14 years of life. And I wrote a book about him called Teddy and Me. And he's getting old, and he's gotten sick, and I was joking about him yesterday on the air. Many of you thought it was funny that his private parts were getting larger, and I thought he was getting smaller. I mean, it became almost frightening in terms of size of private part proportionate to the body mass. So he went to the vet for the third time in 3 days, and she is suspecting that he has testicular cancer, the poor little fella. And so they're going to biopsy, or did already, and may have to remove a portion of his thing. And we got him on an anti-inflammatory because he was ripping his fur apart from I guess the referred pain from whatever he has, prostatitis, it could be as simple as that, or testicular cancer. It's a referred pain up into the lower abdomen area, and dogs don't know what it is, so they start to scratch and bite themselves. Don't call me about saw palmetto. I wrote the book about it 30 years ago. I know all about it, so we'll try everything, but I don't know. It's the way of all flesh, you know. We as human organisms, animals as organisms, get older, and they start to break down, and then eventually that's it. So what are you going to do about it? I'm wrecked over it, frankly. I mean, it's wrecking my emotions. I got to tell you, it's affecting me very deeply because I'm attached to the dog a little too much. I've had other dogs that I lost, and this one's different. Well, anyway, I don't want to get too maudlin right now. Let's get back to scatology and take some callers on the issue of Trump using the whole word about a certain nation. But isn't there a truth in that? Isn't there a certain truth that even our amnesty-loving fools in the media have to agree with? We don't like if the president denigrates other nations, even in a private setting. We know the language itself is vulgar and crude. And we also know that we get a lot of great immigrants from around the globe. But as I said to you before, aren't there geographical related differences in how successful some immigrants are? Yes, there is a UN Human Development Index, for example. And Norway, the country that Trump mentioned he wanted more immigrants from, is actually number 1 on the UN Human Development Index. The lowest is El Salvador, ranked at 117. I'm sorry, El Salvador ranked at 117. Haiti is ranked at 163. And every other country ranked below it was from Africa. Did you hear that? All the other nations below that, 163rd place, were from Africa. So why wouldn't we want immigrants who are healthy and productive, irrespective of their racial composition? Why would we want people to come from the most dysfunctional places on earth, the most impoverished places on earth? Have you looked at the relative welfare usage by immigrants and their nation of origin? I have. Central America, Mexico, the highest, 73% of them use welfare. The Caribbean, 51% of them use welfare. African immigrants to the U.S., 48%. European immigrants use the lowest rate of have the lowest rate of usage of welfare. It's 26%. East Asians use welfare at a rate of 32%. South Asia has the lowest of all groups at 17%. So these are disparate outcomes for immigrants by nation. And it will pass down through the generations generally. We get immigrants from a wide variety of nations with a wide variety of skills. And the fact of the matter is there's insanity in the immigration policy of Dick Durbin and Nancy Pelosi, who want open borders. Why would you want to bring in Somalis, for example, into this nation? If you've looked at Somalia itself and what happens in the Somali American communities here. But what about the large numbers of Nigerians who come here and do well? Why? Do you know why? Because while the Somalis are generally uneducated, the Nigerians that America gets are very highly educated. So I understand the president stepped into a bear trap, and there's a lot of anger by the immigration parrot community that we're all being called racist now. But the fact of the matter is, certain immigrants are much more likely to be crime-ridden or to use welfare at a much higher rate than the average Norwegian. And so, therefore, maybe we will now have a rational immigration policy and make a decision as to how many immigrants we can absorb per year and where they should come from. Maybe when all the dust settles, once again, Trump did the nation a favor, where the average person, even those who vote Democrat, can say, you know what, I would never say it, but he's not really wrong. And, of course, if they really do mean that they are in such love with Haiti and Africa, when is the last time Jerry Seinfeld or any other good liberals that was just so outraged today vacationed in Haiti? I can't find any references to that, and there's a good reason for it. But, you know, a lot of this is based not only on politics, but on pure stupidity. And I got to play a soundbite before I take a quick break here. The worst senator in the Senate right now is Dick Durbin, for many reasons. I never forgave him for calling our Marines Nazis. Never. Never. He should have been thrown out of office just for that. I want you to listen to how sick this man is when he says the term chain migration is painful to African Americans because they migrated to the United States in chains. Wait a minute, I'll play it in a minute. Would that mean that we should drop the words chain smoker, bicycle chain, because it may offend somebody? Are these people this sick? Listen to this. Listen to clip 5.
That was the nature of this conversation. When it came to the issue of, quote, chain migration, I said to the president, do you realize how painful that term is to so many people? African Americans believe that they migrated to America in chains. And when you speak about chain migration, it hurts them personally.
This is sick. I mean, this is what's running the country? This is at the lowest possible human level. It can't get lower than Dick Durbin. Yes, it can. I'm soon going to play Nancy Pelosi with another brain freeze on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now. 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. We'll get back in a minute to the scatological insanity of the media, where they're just over and over using obscene language to pretend that they've never used the word before about some third world hellholes. These people really should have considered a career in coprology, but they never went past the High School of Performing Art. But the fact is, let's get down to brass tacks for a minute before I get back to the facts of the news facts of the day, which is the fact that we all have goals for 2018. We all have them, and we all need good rest in order to do them, right? And maybe you heard me say it yesterday, but I do get a good night's sleep on a Casper mattress, and I use it because it has a unique combination of foams that provide the right pressure relief and comfort so you feel perfectly balanced. And thanks to the breathable material, you're guaranteed to sleep cool, plus the mattresses are built to last for years. Basically, since I've gotten my Casper, I've gotten the best sleep ever, so I know 2018 is going to be a great year. Try Casper yourself for 100 nights for free in your own home. They'll ship it to you in a little box. If you don't love it, they'll come and pick it up, put it back in that box, and refund you every dime. Start your year off right with a guaranteed great night's sleep every night. Get a Casper. Try yours for 100 nights in your own home with free shipping and returns. All you got to do is go to Casper.com, use code SAVAGE, and we will give you $50 off the purchase of select mattresses. You got it? Casper.com, code SAVAGE to save $50 on the purchase of select mattresses. Casper.com, terms and conditions do apply. So the little boys and girls in the media like to say the S word now with impunity because they're all little children throwing scat around the newsrooms, verbal scat. And you're telling me that they themselves love Haiti? They would go to the nations of Africa on vacation? You know that they're liars. And they are doing this for one reason, because they can. And I don't think the average person really thinks Trump did anything wrong, because behind the scenes, everyone knows that these nations are not places that they would migrate to, even on a vacation. And I'll say it again till you finally hear me. Why didn't the Obamas rent a vacation villa in Haiti or in Africa instead of Honolulu or Martha's Vineyard? Because they're not stupid. Because they treasure their lives. They like running water. They like a safe food supply. That's why they went to Honolulu or Martha's Vineyard with all the other good liberals. That's why they didn't vacation in Port-au-Prince, you idiots, you. And the day that Jake Tapper and his buddy Anderson Cooper and Pill Griffin take up my offer, I will raise money for them to spend 2 straight weeks in Haiti at our expense. But it's got to be at a resort of our choosing and with no bodyguards. That's right. Jake, we're raising money for you to spend 2 weeks in Haiti at our expense, but it's got to be at a resort of our choosing.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
So, I'm a dog, and I just got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
January 11th, 2018.
And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture, and here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Et vos pieds sur une chaise, je vous connais, milord. Vous ne m'avez jamais vu. Je ne suis
evocative songs that I've ever heard. It's Milord by Edith Piaf. I don't know why I loved it when I was 18 years old. I haven't heard it in so many years. But it tells the tale of a woman of the night. That's a polite way of saying she was an actress from Hollywood who falls in love with an upper-class gentleman who don't exist anymore, who she runs into on the street. And it's a fabulous song, not so much for the lyrics or the meaning, I think, as much as for the danceable, upbeat bal musette or the dramatic rubato segments that you hear in the song. And it's a faster time melody that everyone recognizes in some way. Everyone, I guess of a certain age, knows about it. I'm not playing it for any reason other than it's a beautiful song. And we are talking about DACA, which is cuckoo, Trump calling for tougher libel laws, then DACA threw a takeout dish, which is one of my comedic pieces, Robert De Niro making a moron of himself, mocking the president for the president's draft deferment based upon bone spurs, and we investigated various sources. We can't find any evidence that Robert De Niro served in the military. Maybe he was deferred because of brain spurs. From eating too much scungili as a child. I don't know. We can't figure it out one way or the other. But we do know that he does conform to my view of most people in Hollywood who look smart and look heroic, but are actually stupid and cowardly in many ways, because these are good-looking children, by and large, who went to high schools of performing art. They had no academic capacity. They couldn't read very well. They couldn't write very well, but they make, tens of millions of dollars. They're worth hundreds of millions, many of them, because they're great actors. And we love our actors. Don't get me wrong. We love our actors, but we don't rely upon them for any opinions, because if we do, we're a bigger fool than they are. We did that one. What haven't we done yet? We haven't taken many calls, I don't think, on the show. Maybe we took one call. Trump says media sent letters calling immigration meeting great. They'll be out of business if I don't win. Don't know what that is. Trump says our current libel laws are a sham. Libel laws. Oh, God, Meryl Streep. There's another example of someone who time and gravity has not been very good to. And I think that she'd be very, very intelligent to step off the stage like Johnny Carson did while she's sort of still on top, because soon she's going to be on the bottom. She's telling us Oprah is more than qualified. We did that on Monday, I believe. There's enough for her with Oprah. Oprah has less of a chance to win than my dog would. If I wrote Teddy in, I think he'd get more votes than Oprah. He's more qualified in some ways. But, speaking about Teddy, I really have to say, many of you know he's the mascot of the Savage Nation. And my great book on him called Teddy and Me came out a number of years ago. Many of you love that book. The pictures are great, taken by the great pet photographer Vince Ramini, who came out from New York. I want to thank my publisher for that. But, look, we all have pets and they get old. This is not my first dog. I mean, one of them's in a box and ashes in the house. So, we all go through it, and we feel very bad when it happens. He's getting old. He's 14 years old. I mean, in the old calculation of 7 years per dog year, how old is he? 98 years old? I hope I'm treated as well when I'm 98, if I should still be here, as I'm treating him. Look, in my opinion, he's like retired. I consider him like retired. So if he's a pain in the neck because he's, getting sick or this or that, or he's nipping at people a little too much now. He's getting a little dogheimers here and there. Nips at my assistant's shoes. Then he tried to attack a family member. He's getting sugar, as old people do. They get a little dogheimers along the way. But I always apologize for him. And it's worth it, when you think about it. He was like a 98-year-old dog. So I think he's like, all right, so he's 14. His job is no longer to entertain me and be my clown. He's been my best dog clown I ever had, going all the way back to when I was a kid in Queens with Tippy, who I heard lived to 14. I thought it was 8. My sister said 14. I didn't know that. I remember how when Tippy died in those days, it was very tragic. No one buried dogs on a hill in those days with a pine cone. You know what they did? Tippy died, had a heart attack in the house, the little house, the attached house on Utopia Parkway. We come down, he's stiff as a board, the tongue is hanging out on the floor. And, oh man, my mother started to cry. She was a very emotional woman. She loved the dog in her own way. Very sad. So they call the garbage department, the sanitation workers. They come in those days, the garbage men in New York wore like a certain kind of uniform that was like stiff wool. It was like a wool suit. It was like brown. And they had like a garbage truck. And it would stand in front of your house, like a conveyor in the back where you throw the trash in. They come in. They look like undertakers. They had the right sadness to them, whether they really felt it or who knows. They're sorry, they took their hat off. They did in those days. They dipped the hat. Sorry, like they were sorry the dog died. But the garbage department, the sanitation department, they picked the dog up. He was like a part chow dog. Bit me when I was 11, down to the bone. Oh, yeah, nice dog. Right down to the bone. Saw like the white bone. I almost fainted. Nice dog, very nice animal, very good for families. But so he's dead now at age 14, laying on the floor. I wasn't sad he was dead. I mean, it was a little shocking to see a dead dog. So they come in, dip the hat, as I said, and one garbage man picks him up by the paws, the other garbage man picks him up by the rear legs, and they march him out. They march him down the steps, and the truck's going the conveyor, and they toss him in the back. I swear to God, that was the end of Tippy. Well, we don't know. Those days are over. They don't throw him in a truck anymore, but with Teddy, I got a site picked out on the hill. I do with pine cones. It's actually under redwood trees on a property I own on the hill. What am I going to do? But look, he's getting older now, and there's a lot of optical illusions with older dogs. As I said, his private parts have grown enormously, and I don't understand this. I honestly don't. We're taking him back to the vet today because something doesn't make sense. He looks skinnier, and his private parts look bigger. So I don't know whether he's actually shrinking or it's because the private part got bigger that he looks smaller. I can't tell. I don't really know. But I know people say, what are you doing to the animal that he looks like that? What do you want from him? He's the same food that he's been getting. I don't know why. Maybe if he has some kind of illness that this happens, I shouldn't tell the world about it because people are liable to try to get that disease. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm looking into it. We'll find out more, and I will report tomorrow on the Savage Nation. But getting back to more serious issues on the program, we're going to talk about all the topics of the day. And I want to start now in this hour with none other than the cuckoo clock herself, Nancy Pelosi. This woman is so vile, it's getting sicker by the day. She comes up with a statement on immigration. Well, you got to hear it for yourself. I want you to listen to how vile she's becoming in clip 2.
I would say of that McCarthy, the five white guys, I call them,
Stop. Do you understand how sick this woman is and how vile she is? She is a white woman, one of the richest and most powerful women in the world. Her husband is a very rich investment banker. God bless both of them. How dare she use the rhetoric of the radical La Raza movement or those who hate white people as though she herself is one of them? How can you let people get away with this? I take umbrage at rich white people putting down white people in order to appease the folks who are not of Caucasian background. I find it as racist as it can get. Listen to her again and tell me she is not qualified for what I called for earlier. Certainly not to be removed under the Weinstein or 26th Amendment because of sexual harassment in any way. But I did say there should be a 27th Amendment, which we might call the De Niro Amendment, or we could call it the Pelosi Amendment. When a prominent actor or politician starts to take themselves and their views too seriously, they should be removed from the acting or political profession and examined for mental stability. In this case, it's an open and shut case. Nancy Pelosi does not need to be examined. She's been examined by the world and found to be a complete cuckoo clock. So let's play the cuckoo clock, Robert, if you can find it, and then that's clip again, and let the people judge for themselves, liberal or conservative. I am sick of white people saying white guys like there's something wrong with being a white guy. Drop dead if you don't like white people. How's that? Go back to the crap hole you came from if you don't like white people. Go back to the destitute garbage can that you crawled out of. I'm sick of it. And I don't want to hear it anymore. But go ahead, play it now. One of the richest white women in the world.
McCarthy, the five white guys, I call them, I thought they were going to open a hamburger stand next or what? That could have been done 4 months ago. The very idea that this week they're saying, oh, why don't we get 4 white guys and General Kelly to come and do this?
Nancy, you're not fit to shine General Kelly's shoes. You're not fit to use a toothbrush if he stepped in dog crap on General Kelly's boots. You are lower than General Kelly's boots, Nancy. And you are a vile racist for using words like this. And you Democrats ought to be ashamed of yourself. Most of you are white liberals, and yet you let idiots like this denigrate your own race. What does that tell you about you? I think I'll take a break because I don't want to go here. Do you?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
By the sword, you're going to die by the sword, Jane. Or Icarus comes to mind. Two sayings. If you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Or, if you fly too close to the sun, your wax will melt and your feathers will fall off. So, mook, you're a bum, you're a mutt. You're mook, you're a bum, you're a mutt. Mook, bum, mutt. This is the best Hollywood can do. Look, if you went to the High School of Performing Art and you lasted 2 years and even dropped out of that high school, and you made $150 million over your career, or $300 million, you too would think saying mook, mutt, and bum passes for intelligence. Well, it does if you're in an audience of Hollywood fools. Now, the only bigger audience of fools would be Nancy Pelosi's girls, who have just decided, along with other female Democrats, to wear black during the president's State of the Union later this month. You hear? She's going to wear black to show solidarity with the victims of sexual misconduct, just as Hollywood idiots wore over the weekend. I mean, this is so stupid. This doesn't pass for policy. This passes for adolescent stupidity, Nancy. You know, you liberals really ought to get someone else to lead you. This is an embarrassment. Trust me, I don't think you're going to win over too many voters with this kind of hysteria. Do you? Now let's go to the callers on the Savage Nation. I don't know which one to take. Deportations, DACA, through a takeout dish. I don't know which one I want to do. Who's calling me now in the middle of a show? Ryan, come in here and answer the phone. It could be the president calling. I got to see. Hold on. Oh, let me take it on the air. Hello. Who's calling, please? I'm on the radio. Thank you. Okay. No, it wasn't a robocall. It was a campaign director for Donald Trump in one of the states trying to get me to speak. I swear to God. Well, I don't know. They didn't even know I'm on the radio. They want me to speak. Forget about it. That's an X. Let me go to a dinner, right? Mike, I love you. Oh, you're Michael Savage. I love you. I love your show. They never listened to it. Oh, you're great. You're wonderful. That's the equivalent of mook, mud, bum, right? The reverse is I love you. You're great. But they don't even know what time your show is on. Look, it's what you do. You know, you put up with it all. So, what do you want to talk about? I don't know where I want to go. Any call is good, you know. Mass deport. I don't know if I want to do immigration. It's too easy to get you angry and to build the audience that way. That's such an easy one, is bash immigrants. But the fact is that the immigration story is the biggest story of the day. And if you think it's all going to go your way because you're listening to Borders, Language, and Culture, you're mistaken. I got an article earlier that's going to make you throw up altogether. It says that a committee working on immigration reform has already agreed to expand, not decrease, expand the number of tech workers on H-1B visas. Not reduce, not deport, but expand them. And they're celebrating it in India Times because there are so many people from the subcontinent in our nation having the time of their lives. And that leads us to the video that we have on michaelsavage.com from Project Veritas, where a Twitter employee here on a student visa boasts that he bans conservatives behind their back. His name is Pranay Singh. He's an engineer for Twitter's direct messaging team, boasting how he takes down people's accounts that he personally doesn't like. Here's this mook. Here's this bum. Here's this mutt from India. This mook, this bum, this mutt. Here on a student visa, this mook, this bum, this butt.
He's so blatantly stupid. He's a punk.
Yeah, well, he's not talking about Pranay Singh.
He's a dog. He's a pig. He's a con. Artist.
Very good. All right, he's just jealous. De Niro's jealous of Trump for two reasons. One, because De Niro's only an actor, meaning he's a performer. He never became anything. He never went to college. He dropped out. But he's envious of Donald Trump for many reasons. One, because Trump beat him on every level, became president. Two guys from Manhattan. Trump actually went to the University of Pennsylvania Wharton School while De Niro dropped out of high school of performing arts. He's jealous. Who else does a thing like this unless they're jealous? The guy has all the money in the world, De Niro. What does he have to attack Trump like that for? It's violent, stupid. And the only people who applaud it are people dumber than him. But getting back to the story, which I have on michaelsavage.com from Project Veritas, you have to look at this. Here is a guy named Pranay Singh, an engineer for Twitter's direct messaging team. And you got to look at it yourself, and you listen to him and what he boasts about, how he takes down people from Twitter that he personally doesn't like. It's astounding. And now it explains why people at Twitter, Facebook, and the other companies like Google want people from India, want people from Pakistan, want people from Bangladesh, want people from all of these third world nations. It's because they come from a background where there is no First Amendment. They have no concept of liberty or democracy, and they can use them like the little Stalinist censors that they're making them into. Do you understand how this works? Do you get the picture why the plantation owners of the tech companies, make no mistake about it, Zuckerberg, the ones who own the other companies, they're the new plantation owners. And they want people on the plantation who are pliable to do their bidding, which violates not only the law, but the spirit of America itself. This guy should be investigated and deported.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
What happened to the sweet music of America? When did it all become racially charged and hateful? How did that happen? Did it come from the rap world of hatred? I don't know who did this. That people who are white and rich would be putting down white people is an astonishing admission of insanity, by the way. Who do they think they're appealing to? Anyway, let's go on. Let's move on. Let's see what else is in the news. I'm on michaelsavage.com, the little website that could. And here are some of the head articles. DACA threw a takeout dish. I love it. I hope you want. Dash cam shows teen firing at cops before being fatally shot. I guess there'll be a riot anyway because another cop chose to live instead of die. Immigrant rights leader in New York was detained by ICE and sparked protests that landed city councilmen in handcuffs. Well, that's where they belong to begin with. Of course they belong in handcuffs. He's here illegally, the immigrant rights leader. A troublemaker from another country should be deported. We don't give him a free license here without a green card to not only spit on a nation and abuse the nation, but then to agitate while he's here. No, throw him out. Let him go back to his home country and see if he can get away with it. Trump renews pledge to take a strong look at libel laws. I'm reading headlines. Court victory for Dreamers may prove short-lived. The judge who did it, Judge Alsop in San Francisco, put him on the short list to be investigated by Donald Trump. Quick analysis finds U.S. cold snap was a freak of nature, not global warming. Tell that to Al Gore. Trump to require able-bodied Medicaid recipients to seek employment. That's shocking. That is shocking. You're going to make able-bodied Medicaid recipients work? You can't do that. Isn't that workist? Forcing bums to go to work? James Franco accused of sexual misconduct by 5 women. I don't know, maybe she should win the testosterone award. Democrats planning protests for Trump's first State of the Union. They're going to wear black. You hear that? Nancy Pelosi wearing black. That should be exciting. Watch Robert De Niro attacking President Trump in a rant at awards gala. As I say, we got to go back to that, which is the 27th Amendment, which I like written, is that when a prominent actor starts to take themselves and their views too seriously, they should be removed from the acting profession and examined for mental stability for at least 90 days. So we may name the 27th Amendment that we're trying to pass the De Niro Amendment, because the 26th, otherwise known as the Weinstein Amendment, is already in effect. Many liberal actors have been destroyed by the 26th. Obama Library slammed by Chicago professors destroying a park, and it looks like a dictator's monument to itself. I want to show you what fake news is. Obama releases plans yesterday or the day before for a proposed library that's something out of the Third Reich that Albert Speer would have designed. And the actual people who live in Chicago who taught at the same university as he did are saying, are you crazy? It's going to destroy a park. You want to destroy a roadway. It's a monument that you would have seen in the Third Reich. It was an embarrassment. What happens the very next day? To show you how fake news works, the very next day, the dictator Obama goes on the David Letterman show, which is now on cable. So I don't know what he's doing. And he does a dance step to show what a cool dancer he is. This is called propaganda at its finest. And that is David Letterman at his lowest. Next on Savage, MichaelSavage.com, is Savage with President Trump and the First Lady. By 2040, Islam could be the second largest religion in the U.S. That would be very nice. Because as you well know, wherever Islam dominates, Christians and Jews do very well. So that's a great thing to look forward to for your children. No drilling off Florida coast. Thank you, Mr. President. I think I had something to do with that. Watch shocking moment Harvey Weinstein is slapped in the face by fellow diner while out to eat in Arizona. You know, I felt bad for Harvey Weinstein watching that punk hit him in the face with his disgusting friend blocking the camera. And I know Harvey won't do it, but he should seek legal action against that punk bum who slapped him in the face. All Harvey Weinstein did was go out to eat in Arizona in some fancy restaurant, and this punk guy and his boyfriend went up to Harvey Weinstein and slapped him in the face like he had the right to do that. This is what the left has become in this country. They become brown shirts in plain English. Prehistoric paradise with trove of flint axes discovered in Israel. For those of you who like a little science, it's a great story. And it dates so far back in time that people who are biblical absolutists will get really upset because archaeologists in Israel have uncovered a prehistoric paradise dating back 500,000 years. Now, biblical absolutists will take umbrage with this article, even though it was done by Jewish experts in the Israel Antiquities Authority and Tel Aviv University, because they'll say the world's only 5,000 years old. And you say, well, wait, there's carbon dating. It sounds like carbon dating is fake. No, it's not fake. There is science and there is religion. And that's why I wrote God, Faith, and Reason, because they can live side by side. They're not mutually exclusive. And that's something I'll do at another time, explain how faith and reason go together like cousins. They're not enemies. They're cousins, okay? Anyway, these stories are on my website, MichaelSavage.com. Let's go to the callers on the Savage Nation. Let's go to KSFO, Mike, line 6. What's on your mind, Mike? Go ahead, please. Mike. Going once, going twice, going third. It's because I don't take calls, so by the time I get them there, they're fiddling somewhere else. Okay, next one. Fred on KSFO, line 7. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Dr. Savage. I just wanted to touch on that point about how you're talking about the wind. One of the
and don't use a speakerphone. No, really, what's your point?
My point is that...
Can you not use a speakerphone? Speak without a speakerphone. Okay, this guy is off the charts bad. Let's go to the next. It's good. You clean up. It's cleaning. Let's go to the news. 199 an hour winds in the Sierra Mountains set a California record. Where's Al Gore? We don't need him. A gust that blasted the summit of a peak at Alpine Meadows in February was the fastest non-tornado wind recorded in the U.S. in 2017. Now, see, they're reporting this today in the local fake newspaper. even though it happened in February of 2017. They're making it sound like it happened last night. This shows you what happens when you have no newspaper and no literacy in a newspaper. 199 mile an hour Sierra wind gust sets record. So I looked at it and I figured, oh, well, last night? No, a year ago in February. It's unbelievable to me what this newspaper is, what it's become. When I first moved to this city, we had a couple of decent newspapers. We had the Examiner. We had the Chronicle. They were good B-plus newspapers. Everybody knows that. They become now less than a junior high school throwaway worse than a shopping mart throwaway in a driveway. Put a story like this. I guess they had nothing to cover that was anti-American, so they come up with this now. A gallery, the most extreme California weather ever recorded. You hear in the middle of time like this. Bikini-wearing California mom fat shames other moms. You hear this is a story in this newspaper. Let's see. Another porn actress dies way too young. Like I care about that. Why would I care about a porn actress who died young? Well, why is that my problem? Why don't I talk about an Eagle Scout who died of something, or a military person who comes back and died? Why care about some slut in a dirty movie? Okay, what do I want to talk about now? I'm getting distracted too easily by the bad news. So let's go down the list. Let's go to foxnews.com and let's see what the Murdoch clan has put up. Hero soldier warns ISIS holdouts to give up, get shot in the face. What? Oh, a pop-up as I'm reading an article. Hero soldier warns ISIS holdouts to give up, get shot in the face, or be beaten to death with shovels. Good for him. Oh, what, they want to remove now because he's a soldier? Look what they made a story of now. He said surrender or die. In a blunt warning to the remaining ISIS fighters, Army Commander Sergeant Major John Wayne Troxell, a real American, let's hear it for a real American, said the shrinking band of ISIS vermin could either surrender to the military or face death by being shot in the face or beaten to death with shovels. Good for him. Well, what does Hollywood now want him arrested for being a real soldier? Not like the fake soldiers that they portray in the movies. Everyone is a victim and afraid to kill the enemy. That's a great story. Werewolf cat named Newberg. What else is on there? GOP lawmaker Darrell Issa said to be considering run for another House seat, just not his. What? He's retiring because he can't win here? He's going to move to another district and run there? I don't get that. I don't know why you're even running it. Why would he want to be there? LGBTQ groups unusually silent after Chelsea Handler's homophobic tweet to Lindsey Graham. It was sickening. I actually never heard of of Handler. I mean, they quote her all the time. She's a moron. She sent a tweet. She's a former comedian who got thrown off, which show was it? Netflix. She had a show that lasted a day or so. And she specializes in insulting the president, insulting Republicans. And she's stupid. So she implied that Republican Senator Lindsey Graham is a closeted gay who's appeasing Trump instead of coming out of the closet. This is actually a new low. GLAAD, Human Rights Campaign, National LGBTQ Task Force, and other gay rights organizations have either ignored or declined to comment on this moron's tweet when reached by Fox News. You see, on Tuesday, Trump allowed cameras into a long bipartisan immigration meeting with lawmakers. And the former Netflix loser turned self-described activist who no one listens to didn't like what she heard from Lindsey Graham. And so she voiced her opinion to her more than 8 followers. And she said, holy F. I guess she has to use a dirty word to show how smart she is. I saw the video of Trump's bipartisan meeting yesterday, idiot tweeted. And she says, hey, at Lindsey Graham, what kind of, I can't even repeat the words, let us say, dirty thing, she says, video do they have on you for you to be acting like this? Wouldn't coming out be more honorable? None of the fake LGBT groups mentioned said one word about her. This is sickening. And last summer, GLAAD's transgender media program director responded to an episode of Survivor immediately after the show aired, when an episode featured contestant Zeke Smith being outed as transgender by fellow competitor Jeff Varner, but they had nothing to say here. Nothing to say here. And so people are really angry over it. Fox News contributor Harlan Hill wrote, if a Republican said something like this, they'd be burning down the RNC. Well, why are gay rights groups silent when it comes to these left-wing fanatics? Answer. You can figure it out for yourself. Now, Twitter declined to comment when asked if this tweet violated the company's guidelines, because it looks like it does to me. Twitter's website states the following. Users may not promote violence against or directly attack or threaten other people on the basis of race, ethnicity, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, religious affiliation, age, disability, or disease. But they had nothing to say when this failed comedian said this horrible homophobic thing on Twitter about Lindsey Graham. Oh, how boring. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Well, here we are. Where it's 2018 already. We've all got goals, right? Well, but the main thing is to know one thing, right? Goals are good, but you can only do them if you feel good and if you're well rested. And, you know, I have a Casper mattress, which does help me get a great night's sleep. The Casper mattress, as I've told you, is a unique combination of foams that provide the right pressure relief and comfort, so you do feel perfectly balanced. And thanks to the breathable material, you are guaranteed to sleep cool. Plus, the mattresses are built to last for years. Basically, since I've gotten my Casper, I've gotten the best sleep I ever had. So I happen to know 2018 is going to be a great year for me. Try Casper yourself for 100 nights in your own home, risk-free. They ship it to you for free in a compact box. And if you don't love it, you don't have to put it back in that little box. They'll come pick it up. They'll refund every dime, no questions asked. It's an unbelievable deal. Start your year off right with a guaranteed great night's sleep every night. Get a Casper. Try yours for 100 nights in your own home with free shipping and returns. Go to Casper.com. And use code SAVAGE, and you're going to get $50 on the purchase of your select mattresses, right? That is Casper.com, code SAVAGE, to save $50 on the purchase of select mattresses. Casper.com, terms and conditions apply. How do I end this hour? How do I end the hour? Well, I guess we go to the news. House passes bill to renew NSA surveillance program, despite mixed messages from the White House. That's a huge story. I mean, the NSA spying was such a huge story under Obama. Do we really want to be spied upon for no reason? Catherine Deneuve, great actress in her time. She is among 100 French women denouncing what she calls the puritanical wave of hashtag #MeToo. She got it right. Puritanical is the right word. She is 1,000% right. She's a real woman. Catherine Deneuve among 100 French women denouncing puritanical wave of hashtag #MeToo. Good for you, Catherine. Anyone know any of her movies? No one ever heard of her. No. But no, I remember from years ago, La Belle de Nuit. What a great movie that was. Catherine Deneuve among 100 French women denouncing puritanical wave of hashtag #MeToo. An elegant, wonderful woman. She published it in Le Monde, saying that the movement and its French equivalent has gone too far and placed women's sexual liberation at risk. Listen to how smart this woman is compared to the morons in America. She said, insistent or awkward come-ons aren't a crime. This fever for sending, quote, pigs to the abattoir, far from helping empower women, in reality serves the interests of the enemies of sexual liberation. You see what I mean about the intellect compared to the zero intellect in the American film community? You understand that? The French version of the hashtag #MeToo is, in French, hashtag balance ton porc, which has been translated by some as squeal on your pig. It's pushed by the far left radical lesbian feminists. That's who's pushing this narrative. No one dares say it. They've driven a wedge between men and women using the very real issue of sexual harassment. But it has gone too far. Among other things, the French actresses wrote the letter lamenting a puritanical wave creating restrictions on free speech, consensual sexuality, and a lack of due process for the accused. God bless them in France, the home of liberté, equalité, fraternité. Maybe the French film community will save the world from the insanity of the American left, which has ruined the American film altogether. Signed by 30 women in the Deneuve group. Catherine Deneuve, not only are you a great actress, you're a great human being and a true intellect.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
January 11th, 2018.
And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Milord, vous asseoir à ma table. Il fait si froid dehors.
That's why I'm playing Edith Piaf. I grew up in an age of romanticism. Let me put it to you that way. And I realize romanticism is dead. I also realize that the idea of being a romantic doesn't even exist anymore. But I am a product of my time, but I'm not alone. And the idea of romance between man and woman has driven poetry and art for at least 600 years, probably since medieval times, if not before, because the idea of romance didn't exist until the Middle Ages, so far as I know. In the cave days, it was not about romance, it was about pure power, etc. But nevertheless, now we're reaching a point where romanticism is being killed and stabbed in the heart. And finally, a great French actress, Catherine Deneuve, and 100 other French women of some renown stand up denouncing the puritanical wave, they call it, of the hashtag #MeToo movement. And what they're saying is the following. They say the hashtag #MeToo movement has gone too far and placed women's sexual liberation at risk. It's the opposite, in other words, of what the American sophomoric idiots think. The letter said the following: insistent or awkward come-ons aren't a crime. And I'm quoting now. This fever for sending, quote, pigs to the abattoir, far from helping empower women, in reality serves the interests of the enemies of sexual liberation. Now, the French version of the hashtag #MeToo movement is hashtag balance ton porc, which has been translated by some as squeal on your pig. Very funny, isn't it? It's not funny when it destroys lives. And among other things, the letter by Catherine Deneuve and others lamented a, quote, puritanical wave, creating restrictions on free speech, consensual sexuality, and a lack of due process for the accused. Now, of course, there was a response from the French women-hating feminists, so-called, who penned their own letter to counter the arguments made by the Catherine Deneuve group. And the letter said, when will we ask the question about men's responsibility to not rape or abuse? Well, we're not talking about rape or abuse. We're talking about saying hello to a pretty woman and inviting her out to dinner, idiot. And this is what I'm talking about. Has it gone too far? Now, Sandra Muller, the so-called woman behind the Balanced Ton Pork, told CNN, of course CNN, that the 100 women in their message in Le Monde are just going to sap the morale of the numerous victims who try to have a bit of courage. Well, the Deneuve letter is in the first cultural pushback seen in France since the Harvey Weinstein scandal opened the floodgates on allegations of sexual harassment and abuse. And Christine Bard, a professor of feminism at the University of Algiers, told the New York Times in November the following, feminism. She said, there is an idealization of seduction à la française, and that anti-feminism has become almost part of the national identity and is seen as a retort to Anglo-American culture, whatever that means. That's something only a French feminist could come up with. So there's the debate right now, and the backlash has started, and thank God it's coming from the French, where the intellectual life is not dead yet. That's all. It's a story. Would you rather me talk about immigration again? I think I've done it for 24 years for now. So I'm not going to. I'd rather talk about this. Has the hashtag #MeToo movement gone too far? Answer the question. Or if you want, we could play Nancy Pelosi showing what a bigoted moron she is by pandering to the lowest common denominator of her constituents, who apparently hate white people so much that she's mocking white people, thinking that that's going to curry favor with them. And if it does, what does that say to the white liberals who support this dodo bird? You didn't hear that soundbite? Listen to clip number 2, and listen carefully to what the Democrats have become under the antiquated dodo bird of Nancy Pelosi.
I would say of that McCarthy, the five white guys, I call them, I said, you going to open a hamburger stand next or what?
What does that mean? What is the ha-ha?
That could have been done 4 months ago. The very idea that this week they're saying, oh, why don't we get 4 white guys and General Kelly to come and do this?
She shouldn't even be able to mention the name General Kelly. As I said in the last hour, this woman is so vile that she's not fit to take a toothbrush to dog droppings on General Kelly's boots. How dare her try to insult him because he's a white guy? This is what has happened to this country. White people, rich white people, are now debasing white people to curry favor with non-white people. This is called racism by any other name. Shall I start a new hashtag? I will one day, but not right now. Let's go to KSFO caller, line 2. What's on your mind, caller? Go ahead, please.
Hey, Dr. Savage. So I was wondering if you heard Mr. Moonbeam's budget proposal yesterday.
No, tell me what's in it.
Oh, well, I'm surprised it's not getting more media. He said when things go south again with our economy, he's going to cut pensions. I couldn't believe it. So it's going to go to the state Supreme Court.
Wait. Wait. He actually said he would do that? He's going to take on the pension unions?
Yes, he is. Here's what
he's going to take on the pension gangsters?
Yeah.
Everybody knows that the pensions are unsupportable. Nobody can pay them, whether they're in New York, Chicago, or California. The pensions cannot be paid. Everybody knows that. So Jerry Brown, to his credit, said he's going to rein them in?
Yeah, he said, quote unquote, in the next downturn, when things look pretty dire, that would be one of the items on the chopping block.
Why not just raise taxes on those of us? Why not raise taxes on those of us who actually work for a living? That's the normal answer for Jerry Brown.
They've already done that, Michael. They keep doing it, and they still can't get enough money to make this.
I know. I'm on the verge of leaving the state because I can't afford to live here. I'm not going to be raped by this government anymore. I'm not paying 13 to 15% of my income off the top to this rotten, stinking state. When the roads are broken, the bums have taken over the cities, and there's virtually no state protection on any level except there's one great organization in the state of California, which I'll support forever, and that's the California Highway Patrol. The greatest group in this state. But other than that, the state is melting down as rapidly as you can imagine. And Jerry Brown is to blame, as well as the one-party system. I thank you for that call. You know, I can only say so much in 1 hour. I gave you a lot. Gang of 6 claims immigration deal. Twitter shadow banning blocks opposing views. That's on Drudge right now. Facebook to put cameras and microphones in homes, except in Zuckerberg's home. Directors Guild snubs old school. Nominates 4 first-timers, all female black directors. Omits Spielberg. This is real comeuppance. All of the good white liberals of Hollywood are getting shafted now by the people that they picked up and carried on their shoulders. Isn't it wonderful? Female and black directors who were given a helping hand by Spielberg are now stepping on his arteries. I just love it. I just love this. When are they going to wake up and find out what they've just done to themselves? Like never? Let's see. NBC sees $1.4 billion in ad sales for Super Bowl. Okay, whatever. 236 sick in an El Toro norovirus outbreak. Bezos, richest human ever. Trump repeats call for internet tax. I think that's a good idea. I think there should be an internet tax. Why should... In other words, if you're buying products on the internet, why should there be no sales tax on it? Is there anything wrong with my thinking on that? In other words, the stores that are selling on the internet are competing with retail stores, which have to pay for a rent, overhead, all of that stuff. They pay sales tax. They collect and pay sales taxes to states. So why shouldn't internet merchants pay sales tax? Can anyone tell me why I'm wrong on that? It makes sense to me. Here's Vladimir Putin saying shrewd Kim has outplayed rivals. You know, I read a story yesterday that disturbed me, where I think Woolsey, the former CIA chief, I think he did say that Kim could put this nation out of business, turn the lights out, with a satellite blast that they have. I heard this a month ago, in I can't say where. Let me put it that way. I was told by a top person about in December. Let's put it that way. That the North Korean maniac, has, I think, 6 satellites that fly over the United States a day. 6 of them a day. And any day they could throw us an EMP blast and put us back into the Stone Age. And I said to that person, why don't you send them a nice Christmas bombing before he bombs us? Because this guy could do it any time. You understand that. So now Putin is saying shrewd North Korean leader has outplayed his rivals. He's won the latest standoff with South Korea, Kim Jong mentally ill on, and the West over his nuclear missile program. And as you may know, you may not think North and South Korea is a big deal. But this is a very big deal. If Kim Jong mentally ill on is flying 6 satellites over the United States every day, and he has the power to send us an EMP blast and put the lights out in 90% of the country, put out the computers, our dams wouldn't work, our railroads wouldn't work, our airports wouldn't work. Do you understand what I am talking about? He is the only person on Earth threatening to use nuclear weapons against other nations. No other nation is doing that. And if there was a United Nations, there would be a UN peace force parachuting into North Korea to put his lights out as fast as possible. But there is no UN. It's nothing but a bunch of grifters at the United Nations. This is the Savage Nation. I'll be back to take your calls.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Dancing on 2 and talking on 1. This is the Savage Nation. Well, what can I say? Nancy Pelosi, what an embarrassment. Not only to our party, I mean, droopy-eyed Nancy is now attacking tax reform. Here you got companies giving out wage increases, bonuses, and one of the richest, most powerful women in the world gets up there with the droopy lid and says wage increases and bonuses from tax reform are just crumbs. Now, I would say maybe they're crumbs compared to how much money she makes a year. Yes, that would be true. But the fact of the matter is, to the people who are getting the wage increases and the bonuses, they're not crumbs, Nancy. I know you've been so far away from understanding what the average worker makes. But when Walmart recently announced a wage increase and bonuses as a result of the sweeping legislation, which included a slashing of the corporate tax rate from 35 to 21%, the people are happy because they're going to get bonuses, they're going to get an hourly wage increase. And this woman who never actually worked for a wage, so far as I can tell, doesn't even understand what a wage increase is, has the nerve to say that such wage increases and bonuses are crumbs and pathetic. You know, you liberals really are going to have to do a lot better than an 80-year-old woman who is so out of touch with reality that she calls people of her own race losers. She attacks tax reform, which benefits her own family. Nonsense. It's unbelievable to me. Do you think anyone actually believes her? Who in the world, in the constituency of the San Francisco area, believes that Nancy Pelosi is appealing to a wide base? And I'll tell you something else. By the time of the next election, there may be so many deportations in sanctuary cities and states like California and San Francisco in particular. You may be shocked to find out what the actual taxpayer and voter thinks and wants in this city and state. Because what the illegal alien wants is not what we want. The illegal alien wants what you tell them to want. And that has to do with voters. That has to do with nothing but voters, voters, voters. But we, the people who kill ourselves every day to produce the revenue that the illegals live off without paying any taxes, are so fed up with these demagogues that we just might be able to vote again in California with some dignity and pride and some honesty. Because when the deportations start to increase, and they really will increase, with ICE finally being able to do its job, you may find out that immigration may come to haunt you in places that you would never, ever believe. Now let's take some calls. Justin on WABC, if you're still there, you've been holding a long time. What's your point? Go ahead, please.
Dr. Savage, I think if we deport all the illegal immigrants in this country, you would see an economic boom equivalent to the California gold rush. You'd have people...
Well, let's pause and think about that for a minute.
Okay.
Why would we have an economic boom with mass deportations?
I think you take the farmers, for instance. They would hurt in the beginning, the first couple of years, but when they come down to pay $20, $30, $40 an hour for workers to help on their farms, you'd have people flock from all over the country, poor people willing to work, you know? I mean,
well, let's think about that again. How much would lettuce cost? How much would carrots cost? How much would fish cost? So you understand the consumer would be paying a lot more for their products. You understand that as well, don't you?
I understand, Dr. Savage, but these are sacrifices that we, the American people, have to make in order to get the country back in...
You might be right. You might be right. My $8.95 Thai lunch yesterday that I talked about, even if it cost $25, I'm going to have to pay it, saying, well, I'm paying a fair price for fair wage. I mean, the fish comes from somewhere, the vegetables come from somewhere, and people need to make an honest living, so I'm willing to pay more. Maybe that would be the answer.
I agree.
What's going on in the background? Is that a child cheering?
I have my 2-year-old daughter right now. She's in the garage.
You know what? I know why you called a young guy like you, because you're worried about her future. Isn't that true, Justin?
Yes, I'm a union construction worker in New York City. I work in the laborers union. So,
are you an electrician?
No, I'm a laborer, a concrete laborer.
How much do you guys make an hour?
In my union, we make $45 an hour.
That's pretty good. I mean, you can basically support a family, can you?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I support a family with overtime, time and a half, and double time. I come down to supporting the family.
Good. That's the working man. So in your working world of today, Justin, do the people support Trump or do they hate him?
The union tradesmen support Trump. The unions tell us not to support him, but all the union workers support Trump 100%. Doesn't matter the gender either.
That's amazing. Well, I appreciate the working man listening to this show, and I know that this show is played on the radio at many construction sites around the country. Justin, you are the backbone of America, and you are the future of America. And I'm going to send you a copy of a book. It's the only gift I've got to give you. I'm going to send it to you for your family, God, Faith, and Reason, because I think the book has an eternal message in it that you could probably even give your little child when she grows up and is able to read and understand it. Thank you very much. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Yesterday I had James O'Keefe on, the greatest investigative reporter in the United States of America. Forget Bernstein and Schmendrick. They haven't done anything in 50 years. They do nothing. All they do is go to dinners and drink cocktails with each other. James O'Keefe is a true investigative reporter. He went undercover, and he got Twitter employees saying that they ban conservatives, they shadow ban people, they do things that are illegal, against the Constitution, unethical, anti-American, something liberals used to be very concerned about in the 1970s, especially years ago. I'm giving an example of, what was his name, Coppola's movie, The Conversation with Gene Hackman. It was all about spying on people without their knowledge. Well, now Twitter is doing it, as caught by Project Veritas. And no one covered it yesterday except me. I had James on. And now, of course, it's on the Drudge Report, which means it'll get worldwide coverage, as it should. But we have to go a lot further than that. That's one topic. But related to that topic is this question. Why are other conservatives in radio and TV not covering the Twitter expose by James O'Keefe? It bewildered me yesterday. None of them talked about it. It wasn't on Fox News. It was not reported to me that anyone in radio covered it. Why did they ignore James O'Keefe and talk about the same old, liberal this, conservative that, American this, American that? This was a huge story. There's a Twitter employee here on a student visa from, I think, Bangladesh, who is banning conservatives on Twitter. I'm going to make sure that Donald Trump and his people get this man's name and that he's deported. I want all. Now you understand why the H-1B visa people at Google, Twitter, and Facebook are so valuable to Mark Zuckerberg and to the others, because they can manipulate them. These people come from destitute nations where there is no democracy. They do not understand anything about the First Amendment. And so they act like little petty fascists. I want them thrown out of the country. And you want an immigration deal? Good. Let's do an immigration deal. Let's start by deporting the H-1B visa holders and get them out of the country. And let's let Mark Zuckerberg and company build trade schools and teach Americans how to do their jobs. America first. We live in America. The English language is the language of the land. They won't learn the language. We have driver's licenses in God knows how many languages, voting pamphlets in San Francisco in 16 languages. It's all crap. You come here, if you can't read or write the language, how can you know what you're voting on unless you read Nancy Pelosi's booklet, which tells you to vote for any pet project she may have? No, English only. I want that passed. Borders, language, culture. If you can't read the language, then you don't vote. We don't want ballots in 20 languages, which makes sure that socialism and cronyism prevail. English only is so important. It's the glue of a nation. Every other nation on earth makes you vote in the language of the land. Every other nation on earth that I know of has firm borders, a firm language, and a firm culture. And I want it back. That's why I've been writing about it for 20 years. And so do most liberals that I talk to, by the way. They understand that they're being overrun as well. They won't say it because they're all cowardly. But they listen to this show in droves because they don't know who else to listen to. They've lost their own country because of their kindness. Make no mistake about it. Many liberal people are kind people, but they're also cowardly because they won't say what has to be said. And all of us have to start speaking out and say, America first. Make America first. American jobs first, not last. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. Now, I'm the son of an immigrant. So I'm very sensitive to this issue. My grandmother, rest her soul, never spoke a word of English to me. She didn't know English. She spoke to me in Russian. That was her language. I don't know Russian. Sometimes I've dreamed in Russian. I try to study a language. It's a very hard language for an American to learn. I don't happen to have a great facility for language, and my genius is in other areas. It's not in languages. But the fact is there are people I know who are illiterate in certain ways, or let's say they're not educated, who can speak 4 languages, maybe not in a very literate manner, but they can speak in Spanish, they can speak in English, they can speak in Italian, they can speak in Sicilian, and maybe a few other dialects that I don't know about. How do they do that? Well, they have a facility for language. But the thing is, language is key to survival in a nation, whether you want to learn the language or not. If you're an immigrant in this country, the number one thing you've got to tell your children is drop the hatred, drop the chip on your shoulder because it's going to imprison you the rest of your life. You can walk around hating the white man all you want. All it's going to do is make you into a slave. You will never climb out from your hatred and your resentment. You got to drop that chip on your shoulder and learn the language and go to school. That's the only way ahead in this country. Otherwise, you're going to be subjected to being a nothing the rest of your life. That's the truth. Everyone knows that. So again, I'm speaking from the point of view of being an immigrant who grew up in a home where English was not even spoken by my grandmother. She was an immigrant, legal of course, but she didn't speak the language. She couldn't learn it. She was too old at the time. I loved her very much. I can pick up by the tones. I picked up by the tones what she was saying to me. But okay, but she didn't know the language. It was too hard. So I have sympathy for people who come here, let's say, from these nations who can't speak the language, and I try to communicate with them. I don't laugh at them. And another reason I don't laugh, I remember being in my father's store on Ludlow Street in New York. Oh, God, thousands of people would come through that store during the week. On the weekends, it was like a zoo. It was a market, an indoor market, 20 different stalls. So I met all kinds of people as a young guy, and I was very lucky to have done so. Every kind of person you can imagine. It was like Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. So without going through the litany, I wrote about it in one of my books in the antique store. I remember once a man came in and was speaking in sort of half Spanish, half English. He couldn't speak English well. So when he left, I laughed at him. I was maybe 10 years old. My father grabbed me by the shoulder and he said, "Don't laugh at him." He said, "He speaks English better than you speak Spanish." Well, I turned red and he was right. So I learned from that point on that no matter how a person may stumble in the English language, it doesn't mean I can speak their language better than they're speaking my language. So it humbled me, and I understand that. I do my best to maintain that mentality. But that doesn't mean that people who come here legally or illegally should vote in my country in a foreign language. They should not. And the reason is quite simple, because they don't even understand what they're voting for. They're just voting like a machine voter in the old system that I told you about, the Tammany Hall machine in New York, which ruled that city for over 100 years. And the fact is that we now have a Tammany Hall-style political system in New York State. We have a Tammany Hall-style political system in California run by Jerry Brown and that group of goons. There's a one-party system, which means it's a dictatorship. There's no newspaper opposition. Newspapers have a job. And the job of a newspaper is to point out corruption and lies. And they don't do it. So there's no newspaper. It's a mimeograph sheet of the corrupt machines that run the states. That's not a newspaper. That's why they're going out of business. We're still under the assumption that America is such a rich nation that we can be all things to all people and have no borders and everyone's going to get along. Unfortunately, it's a crowded lifeboat, an old analogy that still works. The lifeboat is up to its gunwales in water, and any more people are going to sink the lifeboat. So there's only a limited amount of space in the lifeboat called the good ship America. And I'd rather see the people in this country who are citizens, young people, black, white, Hispanic, Asian. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter what their sexual orientation is. If they're citizens, they should be given the opportunities, not opportunities to non-citizens. That's the point. There's a limited or finite amount of resources, and they have to go to our citizens first. That's one man's opinion. But in addition to that, there's a bigger issue. The issue is one of culture. These DACA recipients have grown up, for whatever the reason, in the shadow of this nation. They will never, ever accept our way of life. They have been born and bred to hate a certain demographic in this nation. And if you think I'm making it up, ask anyone from that background. I know it for a fact. They hate a certain demographic of this nation, and they're never going to learn to accept the demographic, even if that demographic that I am discussing extends them the hand of friendship. They will always hate that demographic. Can you read between the lines? No, I'm not hiding anything. What you hear is what you get. I mean, what you hear is what you get. What I said to President Trump is what you heard on this radio show. I didn't hide from him where I stood on animals in the land either. He listened to me. And by the way, I have some very good news for those of you out there who think that it's just tree hugging and it has no effect. There's a huge story that came out, and I would like to think that I had something to do with it. The president announced no drilling off Florida coast, and I said, thank you, Mr. President. Now, does it mean it's because I said things about that on this show? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do have a listenership that's quite broad. I was screaming and yelling about drilling off coasts. I said it would destroy the beach resorts. It would destroy the ecosystem. It would destroy sea life. Maybe someone in the president's inner circle heard me. I know the governor of Florida opposed it. We can't have oil rigs off the coast of Florida, off the coast of New Jersey, off the coast of Maryland, without expecting a blowout and the destruction of animal life in the beaches. So I do think that what I say is what you get. Trump renews call for tougher libel laws. Oh, do I agree with this one? President Trump said that our current libel laws are a sham and a disgrace and do not represent American values or American fairness. We're going to take a strong look at our country's libel laws so that when somebody says something that is false and defamatory about someone, that person will have meaningful recourse in our courts. Amen to that, Donald Trump. And you can begin with Media Matters. Throw them all in jail and bankrupt them for what they've done to me and others in the media for the last 20 years. You want to talk about libel laws? I want to go a step further. I'd like to see people publishing falsehoods like this thrown in prison. And they can be thrown in prison. Now, let me explain something. Winning libel cases is very difficult for public figures such as myself. And that's because in order for me to win a case, I have to demonstrate that a media outlet, quote, acted with, quote, actual malice by proving that the outlet proceeded with, quote, reckless disregard or used information and it was false. This is done all the time in this country by groups like Media Matters, in my opinion, funded by that rat bum, George Soros, the most evil man on the planet in my estimation. But let me tell you something else. On the other hand, unlike authors, of which I'm a very famous international author, with numerous bestsellers, by the way, including my last two books, Trump's War #1. The next one was God, Faith, and Reason on the New York Times list. Yeah, I'm a famous author and a famous broadcaster. But not only do people like myself face potential allegations of libel, but also slander. And slander can involve oral statements that are found to injure someone's reputation or character. I know the law very well, and I know how it works 2 ways. It's a two-edged sword. So I agree with Donald Trump. We must have tougher libel laws, and we need to go after the groups that have been specializing in slandering and libeling people like myself, starting with Media Matters, and I will lobby to have them investigated, have their 501c3 status revoked, and imprisoned for what they've done to many people to destroy their livelihood, interfering with their economic advantage, tortious interference, destroying our advertiser base, and they're going to pay through the ears when I get through with them, if I can. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Again with a broken sound bar, but we are back live, and that's the important thing. Well, there's a headline on the Drudge Report that is worthy of my closing this show with, because it's so charming. Just so charming in its own way. The president's being charming as ever. And the headline is, Trump balks at S-hole immigration deal. Using colorful language, Trump alarms lawmakers with disparaging words for Haiti and Africa, says Julie Hirschfield Davis. See, she has to have 3 names. And Cheryl Gay Stolberg. Again, 3 names. Unless you have 3 names, you can't work for the New York Times. You can no longer be a binomial. You have to be a trinomial to get a job at the New York Times. But nevertheless, what Trump allegedly said is the following. President Trump today, or yesterday, balked at an immigration deal that would include protections for people from Haiti and African countries, demanding to know at a White House meeting why he should accept immigrants from, quote, S-hole countries rather than people from places like Norway, according to people with direct knowledge of the conversation. Mr. Trump's remarks left members of Congress attending the meeting in the cabinet room alarmed and mystified. I guess that would be Nancy Pelosi. They were there discussing an emerging bipartisan deal to give legal status to immigrants illegally brought to the United States as children. The people said, speaking on anonymity, without authorization, discussed the explosive proceedings of the private meeting. So we got leakers again. When Mr. Trump heard that Haitians were among those who would benefit, he asked if they could be left out of the plan, according to the people familiar with the conversation, asking, why do we want people from Haiti here? Well, I'll comment on that another time. The comments were reminiscent of ones the president made last year in the Oval Office meeting with cabinet officials and administration aides, where he complained about admitting Haitians to the country, complaining that they all had AIDS, as well as Nigerians who he said would never go back to their huts, according to officials who heard the statement in person or were briefed on their remarks by people who did. The White House vehemently denied last month that Mr. Trump made those remarks. In a written statement today, Raj Shah, the White House deputy press secretary, there's a new player now. I guess she's on the way out. What's her name? Kellyanne, wasn't she the deputy press secretary? Kellyanne Conway. Well, there's a competitor now. His name is Raj Shah, and he's a White House deputy press secretary. Did not deny the account to directly address Mr. Trump's comments during the meeting. He said something about certain Washington politicians choose to fight for foreign countries, but President Trump will always fight for the American people. Like other nations that have merit-based immigration, President Trump is fighting for permanent solutions that make our country stronger by welcoming those who can contribute to our society, grow our economy, and assimilate into our great nation. It makes sense to me. Let me ask you something, all of you bleeding out liberals out there. Do you think we should take anyone into the country, or should we select those who can, as the president says, contribute to our nation, grow our economy, and assimilate into our great nation? Which would you choose? Anyone or special ones? A sane nation picks those who can do something for the nation, not those who are going to come here and do nothing for the nation. So this is what's going on. And Trump grew angry as the group detailed another aspect of the immigration deal in the works, a move to end the diversity visa lottery program and use some of the 50,000 visas to protect vulnerable populations who have been living in the U.S. under the so-called temporary protected status. That is when he was asked about Haiti and the African nations. And so Trump is saying, wait a minute now, why don't we get some people from places like Norway instead of Haiti and Africa? Is he wrong, or do you think he's right? Well, we'll talk about it tomorrow when I return to run point on the Savage Nation for another 3 hours with God's will and your listenership. And thank you for reading michaelsavage.com and for flocking to the bookstores for God, Faith, and Reason, a book that shall outlive a lot of people.